Level up your LA Kings experience with the new Vivid Seats Elite Seats. All the on-ice Kings action with even more exclusive access. Enjoy great seats to the game along with premier dining inside the Lexus Club with all-you-can-eat food and non-alcoholic beverages. Plus, get a free Team LA Kings item and parking with your purchase. Score your Vivid Seats Elite Seats tickets today and earn rewards on each purchase from the only ticket company that rewards you for buying. Experience it live with Vivid Seats, the official partner of the LA Kings.
You're listening to an LA Kings podcast. For more episodes of this and every other Kings program, visit lakings.com/podcast.
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings. Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
Joining me today, assistant coach for the Ontario Reign, Chris Hajt. How are you doing today, Chris?
Great. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for joining me. We want to talk about Jakub Dvořák, named to Team Czechia for the World Junior Championship.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, how have you seen him develop this year with Ontario?
You know what? He's done a good job starting from the beginning of the season, right? You're coming into a pro camp and being around the NHL guys and then the other pros, the American League guys, and it's a process, right? He's a young man who's coming in and a little green, and he's getting used to being a professional, cooking for himself and morning practices and having to do it every single day. And it's a little bit different. Obviously, he had the junior experience last year, which helped him, and was around us a little bit as well last year with, different things. But, again, he's definitely come along and worked very hard on a daily basis to improve his craft.
He's in his, third different league in the last 15 months or something like that. I don't remember when he came over from Czechia last year, but does he have the kind of personality, intelligence? I don't even know what it takes to adapt to that many changes.
Well, it's hard, right? It takes everyone in the organization, management, coaches, players, staff to make them feel comfortable, and it is an adjustment, right? Where you're a young player that's coming from overseas and adjusting to life in North America. There's a lot of challenges, but we think in this organization we do a good job of making sure he's comfortable, or players in that situation are comfortable and are able to adjust and adapt. And ultimately, they're here for hockey, right? And that's the main thing. But there's different things that we do with the guys, cooking classes to teach them how to grocery shop and different things to. Yeah, no, it's Haley does a great job with our players and with stuff like that. But Matt Green, Sean O'Donnell are work with the D, and they've spent a lot of time with them, as well as myself and our staff, and talking to them on a daily basis to the human aspect of do you feel comfortable? Are you doing well? Do you need anything away from the rink? Because if away from the rink is settled, then on the rink will be settled. So there's checks and balances to it.
I don't think you and I have ever discussed this, but I historically have had a blind spot for skating. I never really figured out what makes someone a good skater or a bad skater. Growing up, I had a friend who told me he would know Paul Kariya's stride without seeing the number or name on the back of the jersey. He just would know it was him.
Yeah.
I never had that. They all look the same to me. So when Dvořák was drafted, one of the sort of independent scouting knocks on him was bad skating. But all of the internal comments we heard from Christian Ruutu and Mark Yannetti was great skating. Then I got into it and I found out there's long form skating, short form skating. Yeah. There's different types of good skating.
Yeah, for sure.
So now that you've watched him for, a while, what kind of skater is he?
Well, I think he has excellent edge work, right? So he's able to transition from forward to backwards to forwards, and he's very smooth at that. Like he doesn't, sometimes you have a little bit of a twitch in there or stumble a lot. He doesn't. He really doesn't. He's very, very smooth in that way. His stride. Again, I like his stride and his ability to, straightaway speed. But as a defenseman, you have to be really good on the edges because you're constantly doing that where you're, again, backwards to forwards, forward to backwards for defending purposes or going for a breakout retrieval where you have to go from backwards to forwards. So you got to get there quick. You can't have that hitch in your stride or hitch in that transition. So again, for a big man, and you forget how big of a kid he is, he's very smooth.
So given how big he is, where is he at physicality? I mean, obviously he's not Chris Pronger or one of the Hatcher brothers.
Oh, and that's something he has to grow into, right? As a young man, he's learning that. He's learning his body, learning what he can and can't do, and that's something that we're all working with him on. And when you're closing on a player or forward or D, whatever it is, the proper technique first of all, and what you're trying to take away, and then how to assert yourself in that battle to be able to win it. And ultimately, you want to get the puck back and be able to go the other way. So there's playing defense is a very complicated position, and it all starts with good positioning, and then you're working from there.
So he was named to Team Czechia for the World Junior Championship. I'm not familiar with Czechia's roster or how loaded they are, but I'm willing to guess they're not favored to win gold. What is the benefit, what can be the benefits for a player like him playing in a tournament like that?
Well, especially coming from professional hockey is using that confidence, saying I'm a professional and I'm going and playing against guys my own age and younger, that I can go and assert myself and be a leader, right? Playing in that tournament, it's an outstanding tournament, the best of the best, 18, 19-year-olds and some younger, but it's an outstanding tournament, an event, and it's a short event where every play matters, right? It's a playoff type atmosphere. Every shift, every single time you go out there is key, and learning that is very important. Playing under pressure. What is pressure, right? It's close games where moving on. If you win that game, it's a huge thing for your country. Playing for your country, what an honor. There's no better honor. Obviously, maybe playing in the NHL and winning the Stanley Cup is marvels it or whatever. But it's a big deal for him, and hopefully he really takes that and uses it and goes and is a leader and able to help them win and go far in that tournament.
Organizationally, do the Reign or the Kings have any goals for him, or do you just sort of pat him on the back and say, go have fun?
Yeah, I'm not sure what management told him on that, but ultimately you just want him to go and play well, and one thing we said to him is go be a leader on your team, right? And I think that's really, really important for him to really take that, and he can run with it, I guess.
Have you seen guys in the past go to the tournament and come back with either an extra layer of maturity or a skill that they hadn't previously sort of mastered in their bag?
Yeah, I mean, more, I guess it came from junior hockey before, 10 years ago, before I was coaching in pro, and there were definitely guys that came back from the tournament a different player, where they were able to raise their game. Being in the OHL and Guelph, it was, I'm thinking of some different guys that were, went to that tournament, they came back and you're like, wow, like they played at a different speed now. They were able to think the game at a different level and were really able to raise their game because of it. It's only going to help them.
So I'm obviously not a fitness buff, but I have been told in the past that the way that you build muscle is that you slowly tear them by lifting heavier and heavier weights, and then as they repair stronger.
Okay.
It's a tortured metaphor, and I don't know if that's even true. But is that how progression has to work in hockey? You have to move up a level and get sort of beaten down, not very long, but you just have to realize the game gets faster, the guys get bigger, et cetera, before you can...
Yeah, having those experiences, think of all the training camps where guys that were just drafted and you're like, wow, like it was an eye-opening experience for them where they weren't the best player on the ice and they were getting, you're seeing Andrzej Kopitar practice and, just think of Frankie Pinelli, his first camp and where he is now. Like guys like that, Chromiak, like it happens to all of them. Where you even Devo, you come back the second year, how much of a difference it is. Angus Booth, like over and over, the examples are there of that growth when you go to that next level and you play, and then you drop down back to your level, and then the next year you're so much better for it, or the next, it could be a half a season, you're so much better for that experience. So again, hopefully that happens for him.
Well, we hope that he has a good time. We hope that he shows well, and we hope that he comes back a slightly better player and helps the Ontario Reign. Chris Hajt, thanks for your time.
No problem. Thanks.
Ever wonder what top athletes eat to perform at their best? Superfood Direct, the preferred catering partner of the LA Kings, is here to fuel your game. For athletes, nutrition isn't just fuel, it's the key to peak performance. Superfood Direct delivers chef-prepared meals that help you build strength, boost endurance, and recover faster. With over 11 years of experience, every meal is balanced with the perfect mix of proteins, carbs, and healthy fats to power you on and off the ice. Ready to fuel your greatness? Visit superfd.com/direct and get 20% off your first order with promo code LA20. That's LA20. Joining me now, Bill Ranford. How are you doing today, Bill?
Doing great, thank you.
So we're here today to talk about the World Junior Championships, and the Kings are in a unique situation. I don't know that Slukynsky will start any games for Team USA, but theoretically the Kings could have the starting goaltenders for Team Canada and Team USA in the World Juniors. If nothing else, they'll have two goaltenders, Carter George and Hampton Slukynsky. What does that mean for the organization to have those two kids representing their countries?
Well, I think it's obviously a huge honor for both of them to represent both Canada and the U.S. And anytime you get an opportunity to play in that caliber of hockey, it's a huge honor. So I think both guys will be very excited about the opportunity if they get one.
It's a totally different kind of tournament, but Mike Buckley was named as goaltending coach for Team USA at the Four Nations tournament. We spoke to him. He said that he would get an opportunity to talk to the goaltending coaches of the goaltenders representing Team USA in that tournament. Will Team USA or Team Canada, do you suppose, reach out to the Kings in any capacity, or will they rather talk to the teams that Slukynsky and George are currently playing for?
I'm sure they've done both. I know not so much with Hampton, but I've been in contact with the goalie coach with Canada over the summer and a couple of times throughout this year. But I think more than not, they will connect directly to their team goalie coaches.
Now, you mentioned that you've spoken to Carter George and less with Hampton Slukynsky. Is that because of NCAA restrictions?
More than likely, I'm not really sure what the rules are as far as that sort of thing goes. I just happen to know the goalie coach for Canada, Dan De Palma, so that was doing a lot of the scouting for Canada leading up to the tournament. So he just reached out a couple of times.
Being a goaltender in a tournament like this must be particularly difficult because the likelihood of you being able to perform to a degree and like stand out, you're going up against an incredible roster of talented kids. What can a goalie do in a tournament like this to showcase their abilities?
I don't think it's so much about showcasing. I think it's more about just having consistency in your game in a very short period. And if you happen to have an off outing, it's about having that ability to bounce back, because before you know it, you could be out of the tournament. So it's more being consistent and having that ability to bounce back after maybe a tough loss or a tough game.
So there are some international tournaments where when players return, or whether it's training camp or whatever, where when players return to their team of origin, whether it's the coaching staff or the player themselves, they recognize that they come back a different player. They've sort of been able to play at a higher level of competition, and that either opens their eyes to, holes in their game or areas that they need to improve upon, or maybe it just challenges them and they step up to the challenge. What is the expectation for the LA Kings on these two goaltenders to work on in a tournament, potentially a short tournament, like you said, like this one?
Well, for me, it's just to gain experience. It's not the end all. We've got these two players for the long haul. We're not going to base everything on one short tournament. But I think it's just when you get the opportunity to play at this high level, it gives you a little bit of taste of what you're going to go against when you get to the NHL level. Every team can win on any given night, and when these with two goalies, if they get the opportunity, it's high end players, and it's probably the most high end guys they'll see in a short period of time until they turn pro.
I can't remember the last time, if ever, that the Kings had a goaltender participate in the WJC. I know that in past years we've talked about it as a sort of, there's only so much good that a player can do for their profile, because if Quentin Byfield, for example, goes and plays at the World Junior Championships and plays well you expect them to, right? Like, if Brant Clark goes and scores that goal, or Akil Thomas gets the gold medal winning goal, you expect your skaters to go and play with other skaters and perform well. With goaltenders, obviously a totally different situation. Is there anything, if a goaltender goes and does perform exceedingly well, can that change their profile? Can that raise the ceiling of expectations?
I I don't think it really changes that much. I think, I guess it gives you a little bump in learning a little bit about the player being able to rise to the occasion, but it's not going to be, we're not making our decision on whether Hampton or Carter is going to be an NHL goalie over one tournament that lasts, 2 weeks long.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was getting at, because Mark Yannetti has spoken in the past about the timelines based on, eligibility for AHL play, et cetera. So it sounds like this, regardless of how they perform, it shouldn't really impact their timeline.
This is just another growing experience and great experience for both individuals to be able to represent their country. But by no means are we basing on their future on a single tournament. Do we want them to go there and play well? Absolutely. But, it's not going to be the end of the world if they may not get an opportunity to play. So, we're hoping that both guys do. I know U.S. has a back-to-back, and in most times the other goalie plays. There's usually the number 1 and 2 goalie for each team, usually gets at least one game in the round robin just because of the way the schedule is set up. So we're hoping that both guys get an opportunity. And I know I've done it a few times, and it's one of the coolest thing you can do is represent your country.
As head of the newly formed goaltending department, is it any validation at all about, the organization and the pipeline that you guys have stocked?
I think it goes to say, more about the individuals. They perform well, and obviously both have represented their countries in the past. So I'd like to take credit for it, but you have to credit the individuals.
And you mentioned your own participation. Are you able to give any advice or pass along any tips on that sort of thing?
I stay out of it at this point.
Sure.
Once they turn pro, then it becomes my job. But at this point, I just want them to, try not to let the pressure get to them too much. I want them to go there and enjoy it and have fun and represent their country in the best way they can.
Is it, as a goaltender, we've heard that the jump from the AHL to the NHL sometimes, for defenders and goaltenders in particular, sometimes the play can be, I don't want to say easier, but more predictable maybe, because plays aren't breaking down as often. Plays are being executed the way they're meant to be. And so you can anticipate more accurately what is about to happen. Jumping from either the collegiate level or major junior into a best on best international situation, do you think it changes the way that either of those players will approach the games, or do they just stick to their routines and what has gotten them where they are so far?
I think you stick to your routines and to what got you there, but obviously there has to be more of an awareness, because on any given night in your regular league play, you probably face either one really, really strong line or two good lines, and whereas in these scenarios at these types of tournaments, you're going to face four real solid lines. So I don't think anything really changes. Just your awareness has to be a little bit more for all four lines.
Now, I know that Jim Fox has gotten his American citizenship. You were born in Manitoba. Are you still a Canadian citizen, or have you gotten your American citizenship?
No, I'm still a Canadian citizen, still a Canadian resident, so that hasn't changed.
So I'm assuming then you'll be rooting for Carter George and Team Canada.
I'm rooting for both goalies.
All right, that's probably the safe answer. Bill Ranford, thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck to both of those two goalies in the upcoming tournament.
All right, thanks for having me.